talking to the people who are seeking you out about their own time management and what they're looking to do as far as career types and this and that kind of thing. I'm sure that you coach them through that up front, and obviously the resource part that you're talking about to make everything happen is so important.
Yeah, and Chip, it goes even. That's a great point, and it goes even beyond that. Some of my happiest clients are in businesses on the surface. You'd say, really? That's what they do? I I have a client that literally works for a very large franchise system. That ultimately what they do is they clean the bathrooms of restaurants, nightclubs, casinos. Not something we all talk about, but we all appreciate, and the businesses all appreciate that, and it is such a lucrative business. And the franchise owner doesn't clean bathrooms ever. They don't even get near the bathrooms. They do the marketing. They get involved in the technology of the business. They're running it as a very white collar executive type of business role. And on the surface, a lot of people wouldn't realize that. So once I get to know somebody, I make them understand that the business or the franchise should be the vehicle to get the things in life that they want. So if you want to play golf and you want to enjoy your weekends, let's find the franchise that gives you that lifestyle component that allows you to do that. It doesn't mean you have to love the very deliverable that your franchise does. It could work out that way, but it doesn't have to work out that way. So like I said, my folks who have restoration businesses, like ServPro and PuroClean and Advanta Clean. We work with all these kinds of companies. And Fast Stop Restoration, Restoration One. These are all great examples of a business where it doesn't matter what the economy did today or tomorrow. It doesn't matter, if the stock market went up or down. If there's going to be water damage or smoke damage or mold or any of that stuff, it's going to happen when it's going to happen. And that's why there's always a need. And so those kind of service-based businesses will always be popular, and they're always going to be a need for to fulfill. So there's something for everybody.
So we've talked about a lot of different types of franchises, but what is it exactly that makes something a franchise? I mean, what is a franchise owner expected to do as opposed to the company that they're franchising?
So if I understand your question correctly, what is the component of franchising that makes it different than an independent startup business?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So franchising, first of all, requires somebody who is able to follow a system. If somebody I meet says, Steve, I want to be an entrepreneur, I have a drive for that, and here's my ideas, here's what I want to do, I'll tell them, okay, that may be a direction you go, but let's see if we can fulfill your goals, what you want your life to look like. Let's see if we can fill that with existing franchise systems that are already in place. But if that person ultimately just can't really follow a process, I would not encourage them to be a franchise owner, because to pay for those services and the assistance and the ongoing training and support services that are offered, and you're not going to take advantage of them anyway because you want to recreate the wheel yourself in your own business acumen, then that probably would not be a good fit. The franchise is right for somebody who wants to take something that's already proven somewhere and tap into those resources to be able to bring that to their area, bring that to their community. And sometimes they could be virtual businesses as well. But either way, they need to be somebody who can follow a system, follow a process, tap into the resources made available to them, and be modest and say, okay, I'm smart, but maybe I can learn from a group of people that might be just as smart, if not smarter, collectively, that can lay out the map for me of how I can be successful in their system and tap into that, and then bring my own personal stamp into the equation as well. And that's what I did with my franchise. And I've been very, very successful all 18 years I've been doing it.
Fantastic. So, in general, if you're going into a franchise, essentially you're buying an existing business and you're following along the process that they've already created.
That's exactly right. And you have to be okay with the fact that as technology changes, that's probably the biggest key word today I'd want to say, the word technology. As technology keeps changing and changing and changing and will continue to evolve and change, it's so hard to do that independently. But that's what the franchise really excels in. The successful franchises, of course. The ones that don't will not be successful. But if I can line one of my clients up with the technology benefits of a franchise, they can have more time to themselves because they don't have to recreate that. I always joke with people in my business. Um, I people just assume when I do a PowerPoint presentation, for example, and if I let's say I do a lot with the transitioning military, so that particular PowerPoint, things explode, things make noises, and I'm always asked, "Wow, that's a great PowerPoint. Now, how did you create that?" And I say, "I have no idea how to do a PowerPoint, nor do I have a desire to learn how to do a PowerPoint, because that would be one of those Saturday mornings the independent business owner does that, the independent consultant. I never had to do that. I'm a franchise owner. I tap into the resources the entrepreneur source in this case provides to me, and I know where to go 24/7 onto my intrasite, and I know that I can pick between 52 different presentations that are all done, and the only thing I know how to do is go to slide one and change the name, the date, and the location. That's how I know how to do a PowerPoint. So, social media, same thing. I'm very relevant on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., but I don't do it myself. I don't make time for that. It's not important enough as other things are, activities. So my company, my franchise taps into social media companies, big ones that just can do everything, and I pay just a little bit. In some cases I don't have to pay anything, and I have folks that go in as if they're me right into my LinkedIn, and they post relevant things because they know my business inside out, and I get thumbs up all day long. And sometimes I have to go read the article after the fact to find out, wow, everyone liked something. I should find out what it is. And hey, you get in business, lots of things have to be accomplished. It's just a matter of how do you get that accomplished. Franchising just eases the burden of doing everything yourself.
Yeah. So what you're saying is that what one of the big things you're paying for in the franchise is they cover all these business variables for you that you would normally have to cover yourself if you're in business for yourself. And you talked a lot about work-life balance. The bottom line is they're building in a really, really good time management system for you because they're covering all these business variables for you that you don't have to worry about. And obviously, when you're doing business yourself, you can't be the jack of all trades. So you need these resources on the side that you're going to have to get covered yourself, and they're already there for you when you buy the franchise.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And depending on the franchise, so I do a lot in the sign business, in the sign industry. I have several franchises we work with in that. So one of the top key things that attract people that I show those franchises to is the vendor discounts they get automatically. If you open your own little sign shop, no offense, but you're just not going to command those vendor discounts that a franchise with 300 outlets in three countries, is going to have with those vendors. And so sometimes tapping into what the franchisor is able to do, so that could be vendor discounts, as I just mentioned. Sometimes it's national accounts. So there's a food related distribution type franchise I work with that my clients know that as soon as they open up in their area, immediately the Whole Food stores become their clients. Why? Because there's already a national affiliation and acceptance and recognition of the franchisor in the Whole Food stores. So as soon as a franchise opens in an area that's untapped, they get those accounts immediately. So those are some of the examples of things you can tap into when you're part of a franchise system that would be very, very difficult to do when you're doing your own private independent business. And one other example I'll give you, there's a a social media. I call it a digital. You become like a digital marketing consultant type franchise I work with. And I once had a client say to me, Steve, why would I need a franchise for that? I come from that industry. I know it. I love it. I think I'm just going to start my own thing. I said, yeah, you can call Vistaprint, and for, I don't know, $10, you can probably get 500 business cards. I said, but what do you do after that? Aren't there going to be a lot of people doing exactly what you do that are just as accomplished as you? Well, you got a point. And I showed this woman a franchise in that same space, and man, she became a fan. And here she is 8 years later. She's very successful. And, that franchise was Google's #1 commercial client in the world last year. And they've got some accounts like Corona Beer. Doesn't hurt. That, no offense, but individuals just are not going to knock on Corona Beer's, door and say, would you like to be my account? But these franchises have the bandwidth to be able to do that. And that particular franchise I showed this woman is in 80 countries. So we're talking a lot of firepower, and she can tap into that. And that's how she's going to be very scalable.
Great. You mentioned earlier creating a PowerPoint presentation for people transitioning out of the military. I know a few years ago, I had come across a statistic, and I'm wondering if this is still true, that transitioning military are actually some of the most successful franchisees because they're able to translate their experience in the military and taking orders and following plans right into the private sector with this.
Absolutely right. I make no secret of it. My favorite clients in the world are my military veterans. It doesn't matter when they served. It doesn't matter if it's Army, Marines, Air Force, Coast Guard, all of Navy. All of them share that one thing in common that you aptly just brought up, and that is they know how to follow a system. They know the importance of being organized. They know the importance of being ahead of the curve of everybody else and in terms of logistics and strategy. And that's what really resonates with them, the franchise systems. I always laugh. There's a fun franchise I work with called Maui Wowie. They're known across the country for their smoothies and Kona coffees. And you see them, everyone sees them. There's these Hawaiian-themed carts that go mobile to all different universities and farmers markets and lots of entertainment and sports venues and things like that. And people get a kick out of that because the person who would really thrive in that type of business is the person who can be kind of laid back, put on the Hawaiian T-shirt and the lei and wear flip-flops year-round. Like, I'm not one of those people, right? I could never own one of those businesses. And there's a lot of us that are not like that. I'm way too high-strung. But you know what? Believe it or not, they have so many military veteran owners because these are folks that already have done the organized, follow orders, very, structured type programs. They're ready for a change. So believe it or not, they're ready to kick back and just relax and enjoy life in a different way. And they make great franchise owners.
All right. So we're actually just coming up on the end of our time. So, Steve, if somebody's interested in franchising, they want to get a hold of you, the Entrepreneur's Source, how can they do so?
Yeah, let me give you my cell phone number. I always have my cell with me, and I always call back the same business day. It's 413-454-4400.
All right. And is there someplace online they can go to get more information?
Absolutely. They can go to www.esource, that's ESOURCE, coach.com / my first initial S, Rosenkrantz. I'll spell it ROSENKRANTZ. That's www.esourcecoach.com / S ROSENKRANTZ. Krantz.
Great. So, Chip, what do you think is the big takeaway our listeners should take from this episode?
I've always